Welcome to Economy Roast, where we slice through the hottest economic news with a sharp edge and a bit of spice. This week, we're diving into a global trade bombshell. President Donald Trump just dropped a tariff hammer on 66 economies, and Switzerland's been hit hard with a jaw-dropping 39% import tax, higher than almost anyone, trailing only Laos, Myanmar, and Syria. Meanwhile, the EU and UK played their cards right, securing much lower rates of 15% and 10%. Why did Switzerland, known for its precision watches and neutrality, get slammed? And what does this mean for global markets? Back in April, Trump warned of a 31% tariff, but Swiss negotiators couldn't seal a deal in time. Buckle up, because in the next 15 minutes, we're roasting the winners, losers, and the economic fallout of this trade war twist. Let's get started.
President Keller-Sutter expressed surprise at the 39% tariff, as negotiators had discussed with the Trump administration last month, but seemingly failed to gain approval.
Der Bundesrat wird sich selbstverständlich weiterhin eine Verbesserung der Zollsituation bemühen. Wird dafür kämpfen, wird sich einsetzen, wird intensiv weiterverhandeln mit dem Ziel, dass in vernünftiger Zeit eine Verbesserung erreicht werden kann. Allerdings liegt das am Ende in der Hand des amerikanischen
The Federal
Präsidenten.
Council will, of course, continue to strive to improve the customs situation. It will fight for this. It will commit itself to this cause. It will continue to negotiate intensively with the aim of achieving an improvement within a reasonable period of time. However, this ultimately lies in the hands of the American president. It is therefore right that Switzerland should also take internal measures to prepare for difficult times. The situation now is that we want to continue these negotiations. We also want a regulated relationship with the United States. It is an important trading partner, but we also said today that this should not come at any price. We have already had other, more difficult situations, and now we just have to work. And in some cases, we have emerged stronger from such situations. Sometimes it takes a little external pressure to get things moving internally. I am neither a clairvoyant nor a psychologist. We will simply prepare the ground as best we can and do everything possible to ensure that this tariff rate can still be negotiated down. I mean, it's not exactly great to have 15%, right?
Noch herunter verhandelt werden kann. Ich meine, es ist ja auch nicht erfreulich, wenn man 15% hat, oder Herr?
Merci, Madame la Présidente de la Confédération, Madame la Vice-Chancelière, Mesdames et Messieurs les représentants d'importants secteurs d'exportation suisse sont concernés par ces droits de douane supplémentaires de 39%. On peut citer l'horlogerie, les machines, les appareils médicaux, ainsi que les produits de l'industrie alimentaire.
Important Swiss export sectors are affected by these additional customs duties of 39%. These include watchmaking, machinery, medical devices, and food products such as coffee, energy drinks, chocolate, and cheese. At present, no real macroeconomic crisis is foreseeable, and I emphasize the word macroeconomic because individually it is clear that companies are sometimes hit hard, comparable, for example, to the pandemic. However, uncertainty remains extremely high. A further deterioration in the international economic situation cannot be ruled out. Of course, the problem, if you'll pardon the expression, is that in the end, you may have the best possible agreement with Department A, with 2 or 3 departments. The President of the United States has to approve it and then give his opinion. And then he decides whether it will ultimately work, and you have seen with other countries how he himself announces the news. We have recorded this way of doing things. It is not a definitive guarantee either, if you look at what is currently happening with other countries.
Lui-même la nouvelle. Ces aspects-là, nous avons enregistré cette façon de faire. C'est non plus pas une garantie définitive. Si vous regardez ce qui se passe actuellement avec d'autres pays,
The U.S. goods trade deficit with Switzerland reached $38.5 billion in 2024, up 56.9% from 2023, according to the U.S. Trade Representative. Keller-Sutter believes Trump chose the 39% tariff as it was rounded from the $38.5 billion deficit figure. The U.S. accounts for 1/6 of Switzerland's total exports, with key items including chemicals, pharmaceuticals, watches, jewelry, chocolate, gemstones, and electronics. Switzerland is home to some of the world's most renowned luxury and food brands. As the 39% tariff takes effect on August 7th, prices for Swiss watches, chocolate, and cheese may skyrocket. The Federation of the Swiss watch industry is outraged, as Switzerland eliminated import tariffs on all industrial goods in 2024, posing no barriers to U.S. imports. June data shows a prolonged decline in Swiss watch exports, especially to the U.S., Japan, and Hong Kong. For chocolate, multinational giants like Nestle and Lindt & Sprüngli have U.S. production lines to serve local customers. However, small and medium-sized Swiss businesses predict severe impacts. Geneva residents say they are shocked by the harsh U.S. import tariffs on Swiss goods, which threaten significant damage to the country's export-driven economy.
Ça me choque, ça me fait très peur par rapport à ce qui va se passer en Suisse.
It shocks me. I'm very scared for what will happen in Switzerland for all these small companies that will pay mainly. And then I understand the country that wants to bring back everything, of course. But on the other hand, making small countries like us pay, I find that, well, I won't say unfair, it's a bit stupid. But it's shocking, worrying. I would say it's shocking, and then really for me personally, it's more about boycotting traveling to the United States. And then why not do the same as they're doing, all these products, to implement an additional tax? There's no reason. But I think we are dealing with a character who has a good day, a bad day, a neutral day. I think it's very difficult to negotiate with a character like that. He's a businessman who only thinks of his country. That's why he was elected. Maybe Switzerland was a bit too soft in the negotiations.
We thought theoretically that we would be at less than Europe because we have a lowered VAT, because generally we have, I think, pretty positive relations with the US. And then lo and behold, we find out that it's actually going the opposite way, 39%, which is kind of a game over number for us. It basically cuts the US market as a possibility for export of vintage watches entirely, because it's not feasible to fully declare a watch with the currency being as low as it is. Right now we're living the nightmare that we had hoped wouldn't come to be. You kind of like wake up in the morning and you're like, no, that wasn't real. And it is. I pinch myself like it's real. But we're going to adapt. And in any case, I feel like this is not going to be forever. I think that this is just going to be a difficult period where we're basically going to have to put the American market kind of on pause, focus on domestic sales. So our Swiss market, we have our shop.
Historique entre la Suisse et les États-Unis, et que the impact could be very strong on the Swiss economy. It is anticipated that if the 39% of import lasts, let's say, in 12 months or more, it could have a negative effect on the Swiss growth of 0.5%. And as you might know, the expectation for 2025 is 1% of growth. So it will cut the potential growth in half, I would say. So the indirect impact could be more unemployment in the Swiss economy. I think that the Swiss government misunderstood that Mr. Trump is different than Mr. Biden or Mr. Obama. He thinks differently. He's just looking at figures. He thinks he's right. There is this psychological aspect that you have to look at. Even if you disagree with the man, with Mr. Trump, you have to look at this psychological, I would say, part when you negotiate with him.
Yes, I think that we can indeed remain positive, knowing Trump and what is happening in the United States, to tell ourselves that it is not something that is frozen in time, and that in any case, there will certainly perhaps be reactions and things that will evolve. Well, we hope so. The problem with President Trump is that we never know what's true, what's false. We never know where he's going to go, if he's going to get worse, if he's going to suddenly back off, if he's doing this to annoy people, if he's doing this to show his power. So we're not sure of anything. In fact, we're not sure of anything. He's playing with us. He's totally playing with us. I think there's going to be a lot of diplomatic work now in the background to try to turn the tide and show the United States that Switzerland is capable of offering interesting things. Switzerland has always been a country that is, how can I put it? We are neutral. We are great mediators. I think I remain confident. There will be an impact at the start, but I don't see a disaster for the Swiss economy for the moment.
Je vois pas un désastre pour l'instant sur l'économie suisse.
In agreements with the U.S., some economies pledged increased investments into the world's largest economy. For instance, the EU committed $600 billion in total, plus $250 billion for U.S. energy purchases. Following this approach, Sahal noted that Switzerland is considering a $150 billion investment pledge, one of the largest relative to its economic size. Switzerland is already the sixth largest investor in the U.S. According to Sahal, it's unclear what the exact sticking points were in negotiations or how Trump calculated the 39% tariff. Switzerland faces a challenge in achieving trade balance in the total value of goods and services with the U.S., but Trump focuses solely on goods.
That's a wrap for this fiery episode of Economy Roast. We've dissected Trump's shocking 39% tariff on Switzerland, a move shaking up global trade from Geneva's watchmakers to chocolate artisans. Or is this a masterstroke or a misstep in the trade war? The fallout's just beginning, and we're keeping our eyes on it. Don't miss our next roast. Hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and join us to unpack more economic chaos. Share your thoughts on Trump's tariffs below. Until next time, stay sharp and keep roasting.